Hi friends and welcome back. It is the third week of the Play Along Journal series and this video is for part 2 and I'm working in my teal journal today. I hope that you guys have been loving these video lessons so far. I have really enjoyed making them for you and seeing what you guys come up with on your own, whether you're working in a play along journal that I created for you, or you made one yourself, or you're just using the techniques in a store-bought journal. Whatever it is, I am loving seeing that. So keep tagging me on Instagram and also using the hashtag #BBHenryPlayAlong, and that way not only me but anyone else that wants to see all the work from others can go look at that hashtag and follow along. Just like always, I try to put all of the links for the products I use in the description below. That way, if you see something that I'm using and want to know what it is, click on the link and it should take you directly to there. If I miss something, don't hesitate to ask, and I will find out where it's from for you, or at least let you know what it's called if I don't have a link. So I'm starting playing here, and the right side of this page is black paper, as you can see, and I want to add some brightness to it. I love the left side of the page already. I'm not going to do much to that, if anything at all. That's a really good way, if you create some papers that are not in your journal, to be able to put them in your journal. So you could either glue them on top of your page and just use it as a whole spread on its own, or this one is actually bound directly in the journal. So if you're making your own journals, that is a fun way to use some of your more specialty papers, or maybe if you have busier papers, you can use it that way. So I started out with a stencil and put some white gesso with my sponge and sponged that through the stencil. Now I got kind of a harebrained idea here, and I've never done it before, so I'm just testing it out. So you're gonna go along for the ride with me. So first, I want to create a little slit, cut through the paper, and I want to create kind of a flap tab on the other side. You'll see what I'm talking about as I go along. So I want to use that paper, this black and white. I think it would complement the page nicely, but I don't want to just do collage. I think collage would look great, but I've done it already a couple times and I know that is one of my most used techniques. So I just want to try something else out here. So I put that it's a self-healing cutting mat underneath. If you don't have one of those, you could use a piece of cardboard or even a thick piece of paper, something that paper might not be good, but something that you're not cutting through the rest of the pages of your journal. I only want to cut through this one page. You're going to see a bit of my head here as I'm leaning in. I'm trying to get exactly that line there. So I cut across that line that I made with the pencil, and now I'm bringing my ruler down. Oh, it's just a sliver. It's not even a 1/16 of an inch probably, but just enough to create a slot that I can slide that paper through. As you can see, that was a tiny little piece that I cut out, and I'm using an X-Acto knife here. You could use scissors if you wanted to. I didn't want to have to kind of bend my paper in half to be able to start a slit. But there would be a couple different ways that you could cut out that section. So I was just kind of eyeballing the paper size and the slit size there, so I needed a little bit longer, and so I'm adding a little bit of length on that, and I want to be able to put this paper through the slit, so I need a little bit more. So it's just kind of a trial and error here. So you could definitely do more measuring beforehand. Sometimes when I get a kind of a wild idea, you just kind of have to jump in and do it. Otherwise, I can overthink it to death, and then by the end, the creativity feels like it's gone, and you may have lost track of your idea even to begin with. So I like having, you wouldn't have to, but I like having that stencil down ahead of time that I did, because now when I put this paper through, I think it brings out the white from underneath it in a nice way. I want to put, before I adhere that paper to the page, so the flap is actually not going to be on this side. This side is going to be adhered to the page. The other side, when we flip and do next week's spread, is going to have the flap. So before I adhere that side down on this piece, I want to bring in some more teal. I want to bring in some more interest and kind of tie the left side in with the right side. So I'm bringing in a piece of fabric, cutting it approximately to size. I do want it to stick out a little bit on the left or on the right side there and on the bottom. I have no problem with that. That's how you get your fun strings and threads hanging out, and your fabric pieces hanging out, is you don't always just contain it to the size of the page, but you kind of go off the sides and play around with the composition a little bit. So I'm almost treating that piece of fabric as a piece of paper, and that can be a fun way to mix up your collaging by adding in different mediums like that, things that you would not normally think to add into collage, but it brings more of a textural element to the page. I want to remind everybody that pre-orders are open right now for the second round of Play Along journals. That way you can get a journal that is very similar to the one that I am working in, and then you can play along as I post each video. And the best part about getting one now is the first couple weeks will already be up. That way when you receive your journal, you can jump right in and start playing along with all of us. I have not decided on an end date for when those orders are going to end. I'll keep them open at least for one more week and gauge what the interest is going forward. If you have any questions about that, let me know in the comments below or shoot me an email. I would love to answer any of your questions. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. That way you can be notified when new videos become available, and that support really helps me out, and I really appreciate everyone that has been following along and playing along themselves. So I went ahead and trimmed that piece down. I may have to cut it even shorter when I work on the next side of the spread, but I know for a fact that it was way too long as it was. I want to make sure that those edges kind of blend into that black piece a little bit, but also stand out from the white. Not sure if that totally makes sense, but I wanted to give a little bit of an edge to that paper. So I'm taking my black China marker and going around those edges and just giving it a little bit of a border before I adhere it onto the page. If you're wondering how I made that black and white marked paper, I took some black gesso and just my sponge that I normally use for stencils, and marked that across the whole page. And then I took my fluid correction pen that I've been using quite a bit and made the marks on top of the black marks. And then it really stands out from the background. I really enjoy the way that looks. So as you can see, I know that is still going to be too long, but I know that the side that I am working on right now is the correct length. So I'm going to fold it and put a crease in and get that put down on the page. I'm feeling like there needs to be another sort of collage element before I glue that down. And I think washi tape might be a good option if I just kind of put it off to one side, and it still will appear as if it's coming from under that piece of paper, but it will just help it to stand on its own a little bit more. All right, and I think we're finally ready to put it down. Sometimes you just have to stop and take a step back and kind of look at your work and examine it. Sometimes as we're going, we we get our faces too close to the page, we get too invested in what's going on, and oftentimes then when we step back or come and look at it later, it can either be, too busy or the flow just isn't quite right. So sometimes it's nice just to kind of sit back in your chair almost and look at your page from a different angle and see how things are going. So I used a strong glue there. I probably could have just used a glue stick, but I had the fabric tack out. And plus with the flap on the other side, I thought it might be better to have a really strong adhesive. I want to bring a little bit of that washi tape over to the other side. It would have been fine without it, but sometimes, especially when it feels like I'm just working on one side of the page, I want to add something onto both sides that kind of ties them all together. Another way that I'm going to tie the two sides together is there's already white marks on the left side, little art marks there, and so I'm going to bring that over and carry it onto the right side. That way we can get some flow across. It kind of carries your eye from the left to the right and tells the viewer's eye where to go. It's leading them in a sense. I hope that you guys enjoyed the videos this week. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love hearing from you. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will do my best to get back to you quickly. I hope that you guys have a great weekend and have fun playing along. See you next time.